You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills, Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
And we would like to welcome you once again to the Park Flyer Podcast. We love to have you here. Before we get started, how about a word from our sponsors?
3D Aeroventures, adding fun to the RC hobby, one layer at a time.
Feeling weak and powerless? Sounds to me like you need A-Power batteries. When someone needs the best, they always choose the A-Team. A-Power batteries. Get on the web and get yours today.
And welcome back to the Park Flyer Podcast. It is good to see you two. Happy Father's Day, by the way. We are.
Oh, that's right, Father's Day today.
This week, and so I know both of you are fathers, and for all of our listeners out there that are fathers, happy Father's Day to you. May is a special month. So I think AK Mike and I both had birthdays this month, and then Father's Day. And
I think that's confused a little bit.
Oh, that's right, because we were in May and this is June, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Okay.
I'm confused.
Okay, well, June is a good month because we have Father's Day. Last month, May, we had birthday. Anyway, you know how that goes. So, but we're welcome to have you. And this week, I think we're getting an update on Jay. He, out of all of us, Jay did most flying this week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was me.
So
and I had a little help.
Yeah, you definitely did. So, what brings you up to speed, man? You were out running around and doing some flying and mowing some grass, and you just had a busy.
And my good buddy Jim, he unfortunately had a little bit of an operation or two, and everything turned out all right, and he was feeling a lot better and chipper, and so he gave me a call and said, "Dude, next week we got to go, get out and go flying." And I said, "Sure thing, if you're feeling up to it." And I showed up, and he showed up, and he had a small gaggle of planes. And that particular day, actually, I didn't bring anything out myself. So I just kind of came out and flew his stuff. So that was kind of fun. And he brought out some old planes, but he had some new engines, and he brought out his one EDF that had a slight mishap. But if you looked at it, it didn't look like it had any mishaps. It looked brand new. So once again, a testament to his repair skills. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we got out there and it's kind of different this time. So actually, I had done a favor for Jim, and we talked about it briefly in the last podcast before we ended, that I cleaned an engine for Jim that we were having problems with that day. And Jim went ahead and gave me the engine, and I kind of clumsily took it apart as much as I could and threw it in my ultrasonic cleaner and cleaned it. And I brought it back to Jim that day. But before that, I had taken some pictures to show him what I had done and what had happened. And Jim was greatly impressed by looking at the motor, which was this gummy mess when he gave it to me. And then, it was all shiny and sparkly. And
that's fun.
He asked me, hey, what ultrasonic cleaner did you get? And then I guess, while he was recouping from his surgery, he was doing a lot of research on ultrasonic cleaners, and he kind of hit me up for some more information on mine and why I made some decisions and, how big of one that he needed. And he ended up getting one. So he got it. I'm not going to say he got it last minute, but he got it right before we met up to go flying that day. Right. So he had already cleaned up one or two of, his own engines, himself. He was able to take his down a little bit, break them down a little bit more and clean them up. And I'll probably show, for our YouTube visitors, or listeners, a couple of pictures here, of like just the muffler. His muffler was just awful. And so, as he was cleaning this thing, he had talked to me about, how he should do it, whether he should fill the vat up, not fill the vat up, use baggies, use bottles, use, whatever. And so he ended up trying to clean it, kind of old school. So he used, gasoline and threw the muffler in there.
Put a match in it, and then
no matches.
that's what I do anyway. I don't like you guys.
That's why Mike doesn't have eyebrows, because he uses.
That's right. Exactly.
Real thin. So he went ahead and threw it in there, and did a couple of 20-minute sessions, and nothing. The gas, nothing. Yeah. So he put it in a plastic.
Yeah, but gas is not really a good cleaner. I mean, I don't know. Some people use gas to clean stuff. I don't really find that it cleans very well.
Yeah, well,
neither did he.
Well, like I said, he did some. Like I said, he was reading the internet and read a couple of articles where guys used gas or whatever, and he decided to use them. And basically, after 2 half-an-hour sessions, the thing did nothing to the muffler, and he was greatly disappointed. So he said, "Well, all right, what the heck? I'm just, he thought his model or his unit was faulty." So he was all kind of panicked and just, I can't believe I got that, Monday or Friday unit. I got a jinxed unit. So he was all.
The good news is he's got a new house now, because when he struck the match to look inside there,
to look inside, yeah.
He's got the money to buy whatever he wants at this point.
Right, exactly.
At this point, that's right. Imagine that happened.
All right, so Jim, safety tip for Jim: don't do this in your kitchen with gasoline. Do it outside in your back porch.
Well, he's got he has a little detached garage, so he was semi-safe.
I'm telling you, man, my dad was an arson investigator, and some guy, he did an arson investigation one time on a guy that cleaned his whole floor. He was painting, got paint all over the floor, cleaned the whole floor with gasoline. In the middle of the night, he got up to get a glass of water, flipped the light switch, instant spark, boom. Nobody was left.
Poof.
Wow.
Okay, yeah,
don't do that.
That's a little more extreme from what Jim was doing to that guy, but okay.
Well, I'm giving Jim the benefit of the doubt and thinking he's smarter than cleaning his whole floor.
Oh yeah. Like I said, he had it in a little plastic container, and and it's floating in water, so
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's semi-safe because it can put itself out, even though gas.
All right, Jim, good for you.
So anyway, the key was he was really disappointed. He wasn't sure. He kind of wrote me a little something about it, and I didn't get a chance to reply back to him, so I was really fearful that his unit was broken and that he was really disappointed. But when he turned up, he had that muffler sitting on the table, and I was like, "Whoa, this thing is sparkling clean. What happened? Did you have to do something different with the gas, or you didn't have it heated to the right temperature, or what?" And he goes, "No, I gave up on the gas, and I just went ahead and I did what you said." And I was like, "Oh, okay, what's that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I use that Simple Awesome stuff from the dollar store. That yellow
Simple Green?
Yes, no, not Simple Green, just Simple Awesome or the Awesome cleaner. It's yellow. Yeah. Looks kind of like lemonade. Yeah. Comes in a gallon jug." Sure. So basically,
I use it when I do a cleanse, so that's what I use.
Yeah, a deep.
He does a deep colon cleansing with it. I think it's called Simply Awesome, right?
So Simply Awesome, that's it. So he borrowed it from his wife, and I guess she was a little upset that he borrowed it, from his wife to do this stuff.
Tips go?
Because at that moment, I guess she had to do some major cleaning, and she didn't have her Simply
Awesome. That's awesome.
Cleaner. So anyway, he went ahead and he grabbed some Ziploc bags, threw some Simple Awesome in there, maybe a little water, threw that muffler in there, and he said he was amazed because he said, "I was sitting there and I walked by. It was 5 minutes later, and I could see the bubbles and stuff, and it was all brown. It just the water just turned completely brown." And he said in 5 minutes. And so he stopped it, looked at the thing. He's like, "Holy crap, that's amazing." And he said that within one cleaning, it was, 80% better just with a simple 15-minute, 20-minute cleansing. Yeah. And so he ended up, he cleansed it again. I think he did 2 sessions, 20 minutes each. and that it came out just, super clean. And he was really, really impressed.
So I just want to tell the listeners and people watching on YouTube right now that the reason why you're hearing silence every time Jay's saying the product's simply awesome is that they didn't pay their marketing fee, so we blanked them out for this piece of it. So I just want to make sure everybody understands why that's happening, so that
every time he says, and the product,
you don't have to beep it. I just silence it. Just make it.
Just flash them.
So going back to the Sonic Cleaner, you and I have very similar, if not the same, Sonic Cleaner, and I think we got him. I can't remember where I got mine, but it's like a 8-quart, I think, or 5-quart, something like that, and it's electronic. It's got a heating element, and it's got like a 30-minute cycle on it, I think, and you can adjust it.
Yeah.
And that's the one that you're saying he got the same one, or he
got the same one as me.
Okay.
Because our units are a little bit bigger than yours. I think we both have the
because Jay only buys the best.
Yes.
10 or 12 quart units is what we got
from China.
Maybe mine is 12 quart as well. Mine's pretty big. I mean, I can put some pretty large stuff in it, but I think mine was about $70 on either Amazon or Banggood.
Yeah, ours ran around $125.
Oh, was
so
it?
that's what so we got the slightly larger unit than yours.
Guys, I'm wondering is like, how do you keep that high pitched sound? I can't do that. Like I just can't get it high enough to do it. How do you do that?
That sounded pretty good, actually.
Yeah, okay.
Really was pretty good.
You get a straw, hook it into the water, and you sit there.
And just say, okay, all right, I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
So
well, it's interesting to me the way you do it, and I know we briefly talked on this last time because I actually fill the whole container full of solution, and normally if I'm cleaning something large, right, I don't think I've ever tried it in a baggie where you fill it up full of water, you put the cleaning solution in a Ziploc bag, put your part in the Ziploc bag, and then you drop the Ziploc bag in the water solution.
I think that's an awesome way to do it because Jay and I did that.
think that's too. And what Jay brought up last time in the last podcast that we just briefly talked about is that he can do like 4 different parts with 4 different types of cleaning.
Right.
Because for me, I only clean, and sometimes I use Mr. Clean or Simple Green or, whatever the case may be. I'll clean everything that needs to be under that. Then I have to, dump it all out, clean it out, and put the new solution in. With Jay's idea, the way he did it, you can do 4 or 5 parts all at once with different cleaning solutions, same session, which I think is amazing. I wish I would have thought of that, and kudos to Jay for coming up with that.
Well, I that was an internet thing. That wasn't me.
I mean, we wrote that down as a goal for the decade, and I think he's done.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it seems to work, and it's a great idea. Plus, you don't use as much cleaning solution, right? So if you want to clean something or some screws or whatever, you just need enough just to cover the screws, and then the ultrasonics will go through the solution, through the bag, and you don't have to fill up that bag, the quart bag full of anything. You just barely fill it with liquid, and it works just as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the part I like. You save on solution.
Use it to clean some spark plugs for me too. Worked great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I'm quite amazed at how well this works. Jim was amazed. So he's really happy because he basically, he's been doing this for a number of years. So he has a few, engines all around his house that of course he's not using. He's like, well, maybe I'll start thinning the herd. And he's like, well, and I mentioned to him and I go, well, like down around him, down where he lives, there's a club nearby. So they have an annual, sale, at the beginning of the year, or swap meet or something. And I go, well, if you clean all your engines and then you take whatever, engines and motors there after you've put them in the ultrasonics, the price of those things just go way up, where you have somebody else's engine that's all gummy, looks like it's been run through the ringer. And then you have yours, and because he goes, yeah, and I still have the original boxes for him. And I go, dude, well, you're going to get what you paid for them. People are going to look at that and go, wow, that looks brand new. Hey, I need a motor like that. Thank you. So sure. I think in short order, his ultrasonic cleaner is going to pay for itself.
Wow, that's really good. That's amazing. I've actually worked with mine a lot, and now that you mentioned that, I may pull the muffler off of my 120, my DA 120, and stick it through there and see what it comes out to be, because it's kind of oily and gooey too. But we'll see.
Yeah, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes for yours, since it's not too bad. And like I said, Simple Green or that Awesome Gist.
Yeah.
It's because that was the thing that Jim got to him, because he was like, yeah, it was a non-gasoline or distilled product. Just clean that stuff, a water-based soluble like cleaned that stuff off so quickly and just broke it apart. And like I was telling him too, the other thing that's kind of cool, we have hard water here, right? So
Right.
You have to decalcify things quite a bit, or use CLR to kind of break them up. And I told him I had to do my shower head, and when I usually do it, it's an all-day affair. I have to fill up this container full of the CLR, let it sit in there all day. And depending, CLR is very aggressive. So depending on your shower head, it can attack the chrome, and it can just any other metal parts, like brass or something. It'll turn them dull, fade plastic, all that kind of stuff. And I noticed, I tried it this time with, once again, using the baggie trick, poured some stuff in there, CLR in there, threw it in the ultrasonic cleaner. And I mean, within 5-10 minutes, the unit was clean. And so what was really amazing was it was like it vibrated it so that the CLR was able to get around the calcium, just totally get whatever the calcium was coating, like it got under the coating, and the calcium just fell off in flakes. So it was flaking off of the surface, whatever the surface was.
Right.
So that was the part that was really cool. So when I looked at the bottom of the bag, it just had all these chunks. So it wasn't like when I do it for several hours and it just dissolves the calcium totally, and you just have this white powder. This time I just had all these chunks in the bag, but the unit was totally cleaned, stem to stern, and it just cleaned it so well internally for everything that I never could get that clean before. So I'm really impressed with that stuff.
Well, I'm amazed as well. And like I said, I've used mine quite a bit. And if you don't have one, you can go to Amazon or Banggood Hobbies or just surf the internet. There's several.
Yeah, eBay's a good place.
eBay is a good place to get one. I may have gotten it off eBay, Amazon or eBay, one of those.
Yeah. And really, like, because Jim was asking me, how big of a unit should I get? And basically what I was telling him was, the biggest, at least in my mind, the biggest unit that you can afford. Because one, you always want a bigger unit because you have something else bigger that you find that you want to throw in the dang thing, right? Later on, well, not just RC stuff, but later on, you're going to be working on some engine, or your wife's going
to whatever,
cat, like the cat to sit in there, and the cat's 20 pounds, 30 pounds, trying to fit it in there. So that's one of the things that I liked about them. Also, stepping up between the difference between your unit and my unit, Mike. Like I said, it's like 2 quarts difference, but I have a spigot on mine, so I can attach a hose.
You can,
fill it up with the water, and then when I want to dump the water, I just hit the spigot, and it just comes out of the hose, into a bucket, or like I have mine on the deck, so I just have it pour out on the deck, and it just drains out in the ground. Right. So it's easy to clean, because one of the things I didn't like with yours was we had to pick it up, take it over to the sink, dump it out, and not to say that it was a super hassle, but I was like kind of looking it down the road. If I'm 70 years old and I'm trying to dump my thing out, I'm going to probably be dumping it all over the place, and my wife's going to be yelling because I have it all on the floor as opposed to the sink. So as opposed to I just turn the little spigot, water comes streaming out. So yeah, that was one of the features I really liked about mine.
Yeah, I noticed when I got mine, and I can't remember why I ordered that size. It was one of those things that I just said, oh, you know what, I only need this big of a size. I kid you not, third thing that I did with it, RC-wise, was great. Once I moved to something else in the house, I kind of wished I would have got the bigger one. Because what I wanted to do, filled it up, and then I just needed a couple of more inches of it. Like I needed just a quart more, not even a quart, but about a pint more liquid to cover everything that I had in there. And it just wouldn't do it. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. So I had to kind of break it apart and put half of it in.
Or you got to keep rotating it. Yeah.
Rotating it or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of a pain, but now I just kind of stick with the smaller stuff. But I probably eventually will wind up with a bigger one just because they're so convenient. And when the new shop comes around, I'm sure that between motorcycle, car, motorhome, whatever. It's RC stuff. And
well, the good news is that your son
right?
just.
What's that?
Yeah, I was going to say the good news is your son just moved. He just moved to Phoenix, right?
That is correct.
And just got a house.
Yeah, he did.
So once you get your house totally rebuilt and everything, you can pack yours up and go, here, son. I know you could use this. Now that you have a garage, you need to clean things, and then you can go and buy yourself a bigger unit. So
that is a good idea.
I'm surprised you didn't for Father's Day just buy yourself one right now. I mean, holy crap!
Who says I didn't? I just
where's he gonna put it?
Yeah, I can't put it anywhere right now.
With the rest of the boxes in the storage?
With the rest of my stuff.
Just chuck it on there.
Yeah, that's funny. So, well, very cool. So you guys, now we talked about last time he had you guys crashed, or you didn't. I guess you could say it was crashed. You crashed his EDF last time. We talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and then you had some other airplanes that you did, but he brought out totally different. The good thing about flying with Jim, and I love flying with Jim, that every time he comes, he brings something different, and that's awesome. I mean, Jay and I have our favorites, and we want to go out there and fly our favorites. I love the L-39. We take it, and we take a couple of the other gliders. But Jim really, when he comes out, is like, hey, I got these. And it's really fun. And I enjoy doing it because, it gets us back into, sometimes the setups are a little bit different, and you're having to find it. That's half the fun, is going, oh, okay, well, how did we do this one last time? And some of them have been set up, by us before, and some have been set up by Jim. And so it's kind of just fun. I love, and Jim's a great builder. So I just love that his stuff flies pretty much right as it takes off, even if it's been sitting for a while. The experience that I've had is when, he goes, here, take this up, and I'll fly it. A little bit of trim, it's good to go. So that's
well, pretty much everything was the same. Like I said, the biggest issue that we had was just figuring out the radio. You know what I mean? Like everything works. Everything was, in line and everything, but it was like, okay, what switch is the high rate? What switch, did on this particular model, did you have a separate high rate for the, for the rudder, for the ailerons, So it's just one of those things of just trying to flick all the switches, holding them all over. Did that move? Did it not move? He's like, hey, look at this thing. Did it move more when I flipped the switch? How about this one? And then I'm like, maybe. I don't. I'm squinting. I don't. Maybe. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Mr. Magoo, there. You're asking Mr. Magoo to see did it change.
Exactly right. I didn't bring my glasses. I'm looking. So anyway. One of the planes.
For those of you who are not old enough to know who Mr. Magoo is, just do a quick
Google
search. You'll find it.
There's a whole segment of people who may not know who that character is. That's terrible. Wow,
we're getting old.
I know, dating ourselves. Anyway, so Jim brought out a profile plane. He brought out the profile plane was the one that he brought out before that we couldn't get the engine started that I cleaned. Mm-hmm. He brought out a stunt plane. He brought out not a mini Ultra Stick. That's what I have, but he brought out the Ultra Stick, the large kind. I think it's a 60 size. And I think I'm forgetting. Oh, he brought out the Dolphin that I flew a couple of weeks ago. That flew pretty well. That 46 size Dolphin.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got out there, and the plane that he flew first, I do believe, was the Ultra Stick. So we got the Ultra Stick started right up. Took off. He's flying. He seemed to be flying fine. And he's like, hey, Jay, come on over and, try it out. So I went over there and I'm flying. It was flying great. So after a while, I went ahead and the thing that freaks me out whenever I'm flying glow as opposed to electric, hey, we flew our 5 minutes. And then I'm like looking, okay, let's, start doing a few practice landings, getting set up on the field to land this thing. And he's like, and I go, oh, how long has it been? He's like, oh, I don't know. You got like another 20 minutes. And I'm just like, 20 minutes? Wow. I think my arms are getting tired. Okay. All right. So anyway, I started going around the field and just, getting set up and doing some practices for landings or touch and goes and stuff. And on that particular plane, when I got it, when I kind of got into the profile, when I got everything lined up for the field and I was coming in, I broke the threshold of the field, and normally you'd kind of throttle back and just let it settle in.
Right.
The plane seemed like it dipped it would just dip, the nose would dip. And when I tried to correct for that, I would over control, right? And so that would just throw the plane off, and then I would have to go around again. And that kept happening to me over and over again. And Jim's just like, yeah, your landing's fine. Just, just hold that and you'll be fine. And for some reason I just didn't trust the plane. You get what I'm saying? It just would come in and I'd have pressure. I'd cut it. I'm like, okay, I'll hold it, waiting for it to settle. And then the nose would dip over. Once it got to a certain speed, it would kind of just nose over. And then I would kind of pull back. I tried doing it a little less abruptly, and I'm trying to be subtle. And I just couldn't get the feel for it. And I just ended up kind of plopping the plane down, or I'd stop the plane because I'd hit hard enough that, I'd actually catch the propeller on the ground. So, the prop would stop and, I'd land the plane okay and everything, but it was not good landing. So I just could not get the feel to land the plane. And I can only attest it to the plane made me nervous, or I didn't trust it, that I kept thinking it was going to nose itself into the ground.
Did it have a gyro?
No, it did not have a gyro, or it didn't have it on. Let's put it that way. It did have one in there, but we didn't have it on. So
so here's another question. What was because I know we've had this conversation before with Jim, but what was just had a brain hemorrhage because I'm getting old. The Expo.
I think it was like in the 30s or 40s, because it was one of the planes we've already pre-adjusted before. Yes. So they were
40. 40 may be just a little too much.
Yeah, but it I don't know. It didn't feel like it was the Expo. Like it didn't give me that feel like it was too much Expo or something on there. It just was. I think it was me. Jim didn't seem to have a problem. So I definitely know it was me.
Yeah.
And I think it just kind of came down to, I just got this, I wasn't trusting the plane that it would be okay if I just let it keep coming in. And then, I was afraid that it would hit that speed threshold and the nose was going to drop on me again. And I just couldn't trust it. You know what I mean?
Were you pulling the power all the way to idle?
Once I was well over the field, yeah, I would cut the throttle. So maybe
cut the throttle all the way to idle, your nose is going to drop a little bit.
Right. And that may be what it was, right? Because that's an electric thing, right? So that very well could be, my fault in that. And maybe the plane needed to have just a little bit more idle, and it probably would settle in and not drop the nose. You're probably right with that. But like I said, it was me. I know it was me. I was the guy who was having the issue, and I just didn't trust. I was just not trusting the plane.
It's not really me. No, you're right. It's you.
Yeah, it is me. Yeah, absolutely. So it was just one of those things where, not having faith in your equipment, or not having faith in the plane, or not trusting.
Well, let's face it, you haven't flown the Glow in a while anyway, right? That particular airplane.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't. How often do I get to fly Glow at all? So yeah, absolutely. So so it was just different for me. So now here's the funny part. So we switched to the stunt plane, right? And the stunt plane is it's a very short model. And so it was very short coupled when you go to fly. So Jim took it off and he's tearing up the sky. And once again, he hands it over to me and I grab the sticks and, I'm just being, very light with the plane to feel it out. And I get it in a turn and, once again, since it was also kind of a profile plane, small angle, profile. So it kind of goes into a thing. It kind of, I have it in the bank, it's turning. And as it's coming around, it turns around like that. And I'm just like, whoa. And it just turns around and the plane, kind of drops because it's kind of like doing a knife edge. So the thing kind of drops and then I kind of overcorrect a little bit and the plane's like all over the place. And once again, it's all me, right? So I'm just like, whoa. And I'm just trying to calm down, just slowing my fingers down. I get recontrol of the plane because now I'm trying to, which part's the top, which part's the bottom.
You're channeling your inner AK Mike, aren't you? Right?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, those are wheels. Okay, they're up, they're down, they're up. Okay, I'm good. All right. Got control, and like I said, the plane's very short coupled, so you can't be too, aggressive on the sticks, because you just end up driving yourself right into the ground if you're over controlling the plane. So anyway, I kind of get a feel for the plane, and and then I feel comfortable with it, and I'm flying around, I'm having a good time. And Jim goes, "Hey man, take it up and try to stall it." And so I go, "Okay, well, I'll take it up and I'll give it a shot." So I go up and I try to stall it, can't stall the plane. And so I go, "Oh, perfect. So I don't have to worry about the plane dropping out of the sky or doing anything weird if it gets, in that stall zone." And once I understood that, this is what I was talking about, trusting the plane, right? Or feeling comfortable with it. Once I saw its characteristics, once it's in that slow stall type configuration, okay, once again, all I have to do is just let go of the sticks and the plane's going to be fine. Felt totally comfortable with the plane. And once again, I'm flying around, I'm having a good time. I set it up to, do a couple of touch and goes or to do a landing or so. And that plane just kind of, you got it on the right profile. You got it the right power setting, and the plane just right to the ground. It was like it was on a gyro. It was quite amazing. So as long as you didn't get heavy on the sticks and over control it when it's coming in, the plane landed like a dream every time. Once you got it, set up, it was great.
Maybe I misunderstood some of what you said here, but maybe that first plane CG is off or something.
It may be. I don't know. I did. Once again, I didn't check it for CG. Because it's Jim's plane, so I just assumed that the CG was correct. But I guess with fuel planes, their CG range changes depending on how you fly.
As you burn fuel, your CG
you burn fuel, right? It changes. So
I think what you're saying is probably true for most airplanes, though. If you are easy on the sticks, the airplane usually reacts somewhat better. If you bang the sticks around, you can pretty much expect, a lot more aggressive style flying. But, nerves, I think, get to people too. If you're nervous about flying, A, someone else's airplane, B, you haven't flown it in a while, you kind of over control it, then that makes you even more nervous because you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Anytime somebody's going, whoa, 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 then they're not totally thinking in that, hey, I need to slow everything down and get into that mode.
This is where following what I do is not a good idea.
What's that, Mike?
Well, because I do exactly what you're saying you shouldn't be doing. I over control the sticks. Do not channel AK Mike during this part of it.
Okay, you guys got to in order to fly turbines, you got to get out of those modes so that you can jump on that. Because
I can fly your turbines all day long.
Because I don't care.
Because I don't care.
Well, that's funny.
But so here's the funny part, or I guess another transition part of the story is that later on we went ahead and we flew the EDF, and so I checked the plane out, flew it around, checked out the controls between the once again we were buddy boxing, everything seemed to be working. Once again, always check your equipment before you go and fly, because once again, we did not have the cord, or we didn't have the battery pushed in all the way on the trainer radio. And so I gave control to Jim to fly, and he's flying. And then he goes, I don't have it. And I'm like, what do you mean? The plane's flying fine. I'm like, the plane flies fine. And he's like, I don't have it. Take it. And I'm like, okay. I would take the plane.
You do. It's doing well.
Yes, it's flying great. What's the problem? So I would take over the plane and I would, bring it back around. And I go, okay, you ready? He's like, yeah. I give him control.
Just like I would fly it. I don't know what's going on.
He'd be flying. He'd go, take it. I don't have it. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it turned out, like I said, the connector for that other radio had come loose, and it was barely keeping a connection, so he would lose connection with the plane. But luckily the plane has a gyro in it, so he'd lose connection. Well, the plane was just flying. Okay, it just flew fine. So that's why I wasn't panicking, because it wasn't doing anything weird to me, and I'm just like, oh, what's the problem, Jim? You're doing fine. He's like, I have no control. So I'm like not believing what he's telling me. It was kind of funny.
Wow, this is great. Two safety tips in this one episode. We're doing great.
Oh yeah.
Don't clean your house with gasoline. and then check your radios for battery malfunctions. That's it.
Yeah, well,
do not check your radios for battery malfunction in the garage with the gasoline. However,
the gasoline, right? Sparks.
Do not connect those two safety tips together.
No.
Yeah. So luckily, the gyro was doing what it was supposed to do. Because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Jim's telling me to take it, and I'm just like, why do you want me to take things flying great, Jim? So he wasn't right. He wasn't lying when he's saying I don't have control. Then I was looking at his hands, and I could see his hands are going all over, and the plane was flying straight and level. That was the problem. So he was trying to turn it, and it wasn't responding to him. So
that's the problem right there. You're not controlling the plane.
That's right. So that's when I got it in my head. Oh, there's a problem. Yeah. So anyway, I landed the plane. We checked it all out. We found the error. We fixed it, and we had no problems with that afterwards. But I think that kind of shook Jim up a little bit. Right out of the gate, it wasn't working, and now he's already nervous after having the incident 2 weeks before. Now he fixed it, and now the plane he's not feeling comfortable. Mm-hmm. So once again, we're flying. Everything's going okay. Jim was having a little. Now the good part was he learned from his mistake from 2 weeks ago. He kept the plane close the whole time while we were out there. He kept the plane close, but because he was keeping it closer, he was having a problem with his altitude. Because he would be at an altitude, but since he has it close, he's trying to lose the altitude and lose it and stuff. And so what I told Jim, I was like, okay, let's just try to get where we're getting to the field. I'll tell you that you've made the field, and then you can go ahead and cut the throttle, or you can minimize it. Keep it up just a little bit. But he was so high, and he has so much room that if he wanted to cut it, I felt that he was fine. But he was getting a little confused between once again, he didn't have his Mark 1 eyeball calibrated for do I have enough altitude to make the field and still have enough time to throttle and get out of there if things go bad, but Jay and Mike had been telling him before, hey, always keep the throttle on. Don't shut your don't shut the throttle off, because it's going to take you enough spool up time.
Right.
So it was just one of those things where he just didn't have that calibration there. So I'm trying to, I'm not as good as an instructor as AZ Mike is. So I'm trying to help him with it. And I'm just like, well, dude, you got the field. You can go ahead and cut the throttle and you'll be fine, And so, getting conflicting orders like that from what he's been told prior to me telling him at that time, yeah, go ahead. And then, so finally, right before, I think it was like, he's coming in for a landing, and luckily there was like no wind out there at all. So, he's coming in kind of high, and I go, dude, you got the field, go ahead and cut the throttle. And then he's kind of coming down, and he's kind of, anticipating things. And I go, don't do anything. He's like, what? I said, don't do anything. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything. And the plane just whoop, landed on the field. And I'm like, yes, remember, you have a gyro in there, man. Trust the gyro. It's going to do its work. And he's like, wow, that worked fairly well. And we took it up again. And this time, same thing. I go, cut the throttle. Don't do anything. You got it. And although it didn't land exactly where he wanted it, he made the field and it didn't crash or anything. And he was kind of like, and that's when he kind of turned to me. He goes, well, you guys said to me that I always should have some throttle in. And I'm like, well, yes. But it's not all, but it's not a definite, right? If there's a lot of wind, it helps to have some more throttle, but there's no wind today. You're trying to keep it short, but you had it up kind of high. So you had the height, you had the energy coming down, you're fine. So it's just one of those things of him getting used to the plane and working with those conditions. So, I mean, we all had fun, no damage to the plane. Everything worked out. We didn't get a chance to fly his Dolphin because we just kind of ran out of time. And plus it was getting hot out there. I mean, if you guys haven't noticed, summer's kind of showed up. I mean, you've been having,
Yes.
115 degrees out there in Arizona, 120.
120.
I also want to say if any of those gyro companies want to use Jay's now trademarked phrase "trust the gyro," just call 830-444-4943 and talk to him. We'll talk you through what the registering the process is.
That's it.
Licensing.
You love it. Trust the gyro.
Trust the gyro.
That's it.
Wow. So I'll give you a little hint.
Jay Neely, folks. Everybody, just give a hand.
Hey, we got it.
Golf clap. Thank you.
So a little bit of, I guess you could say, semantics there, and I don't necessarily know if I'm that great of an instructor, but I would have used the term reduce the throttle rather than cut the throttle, because someone that has cut the throttle means all the way to off, where if they're reducing it, you just continue to say reduce until it gets to idle thrust, right? And that's really what you're
sure.
after.
So, Mike, when you're teaching someone how to use the throttle on the takeoff too, do you tell them more throttle? What do you use for words, like, as you're training them?
Well, if I was going to tell them, I'd say go ahead and advance the throttle to half.
Advance the throttle.
Yeah, you want to advance the throttle on your stick. So just go ahead and advance the throttle to full, or do it to half and get yourself lined up, right? So in a turbine world, there's a spool up time. So you just don't want to go from 0 to full. And then for airplanes, the nose wheels cock 30 degrees, you're going to have a big handful here in about 8 seconds. This thing is going to be moving, and the airplane's going to be like all over the place. So you want to kind of advance the throttle slowly to about half, get your steering where it needs to be. Same way with any other type of airplane, unless it's just going to rotate in a massive, like a very short field. But if you, like Jay's L-39, takes a little bit longer to get off the ground. Some of these bigger airplanes take a little bit longer. So you just want to advance it slowly and then go ahead full throttle, right? So I would just say full. So advance it slowly, full throttle. Now we're at full throttle. As you rotate, you're just going to increase the back pressure of the elevator. And then as you get airborne, then now you can go into reduce the throttle to 3/4, reduce the throttle to half. And then normally I have them sit at half throttle. And then
I used to fly was a lot like that, right? If you gave it full throttle, it would just spin around because the torque on that thing was just
momentum across the rudder to be able to coordinate and get it to fly straight. So.
Yep, and that was really kind of hard. It had a crappy base, wheelbase, so it was always crazy on the.
Well, and it's a lot of guys, even with some of the 3D airplanes, if I fly, I can go even on the L-39, I can go from 0 throttle to full throttle, but I know how long it takes to spool up, and I know how much of amount of rudder to put in to make sure the thing's going straight. So it's almost a natural reaction for me to push the throttle up and right rudder at the same time as I push it up, and then I know as soon as it kicks in, it's going to be going straight down the runway. And I have a couple of 60-inch airplanes that I do that too. They're propellers, and the propeller will pull it a lot harder. So as I just jam the throttle forward, it's already coordinated going off, and then it just lifts off the ground, and I'll go vertical. But for someone that's just learning, especially on like a Cub or something that has a big tail wheel and a high wing, those things have a tendency to kind of rock, and you want to make sure that you're kind of going straight before you just hammer the throttle.
Well, that fun racer is the same thing, right? I mean, if you don't launch that sucker upside down, you got to put all kinds of rudder in just to get it to fly straight.
That's correct. And then by doing it inverted, you're just compensating for that, and you're putting you're basically
the weight's on the bottom instead of on the top.
You're putting the elevator down rudder. You're putting the rudder down into the airstream.
Yeah.
So you get a lot. You don't have to have as much input as you would if you're blocking the rudder with a nose up.
Yeah.
So, well, I was able to go fly. Barry called me the other day, and we actually have a jet event that's coming around in October. It's I think it's out in California somewhere, and he wants to go, and he's been trying to talk me into going with him, and so he's made all these arrangements and got everything out, but he knows that some of my turbines are in storage, and so he got me out there the other day on his L-39 and stuck me on the sticks again because he's like, okay, I don't want you to get rusty, so I know you haven't flown, which is funny because I've flown his turbine a couple of times, but mostly when I'm watching, he'll go, here you go, and he'll hand me the radio, and then I'll fly it around and I'll hand the radio back. But this particular time, he goes, no, just here's the radio. Here's how to start, because he has an IX20, and it takes a little bit for me to figure out, where everything is. And then he's like, all right, here you go. Here's the on and off valve. Here's where you plug in the battery. Knock yourself out. So I did. I took it up to the line and taxied it out, started it and did all that kind of stuff. And let me tell you, it flies. The turbine version flies just like the EDF version, and I was having a blast. And I have the peanut gallery behind me, right? Because at the very first flight, long runway, real soft, big pattern, the whole thing. And I did a couple of aerobatics, and then you can fly that thing for about 6 minutes or so. In about 3 minutes, I set up, kind of come in and shot an approach. And he's like, dude, you have like 3 more minutes left. And I said, yeah, but, this is the first time in a while that I've landed this airplane. And so if I screw it up, right, I want to go around and have enough gas. I don't want to do it right at the last second.
Right.
So I did. I came
you,
in there.
You don't want to show your emergency approach.
Right. I don't want to create an emergency on my own. I want to have plenty of time to go around.
Emergency. Read the checklist, please.
Right. So anyway, I came in and landed, and it was, it was pretty uneventful. It lands just like the L-39 that I have. And so we fueled it all back up, and I'd only used about half a tank, so it filled up pretty quick. And then went back out there, and this time I was a little more aggressive. I was doing some dairy turns and some low passes, and a couple of high altitude, not really tumbles, but what they call shoulder rolls. And so anyway, these guys in the background, oh, look, he's filling his oats. Oh, he's getting his confidence back. Oh, it's like these two guys.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. So anyway, so hopefully we'll be able to go to this jet event, and we'll take some stuff out there. And I've got some turbine stuff for sale, and we're looking for some new stuff, and so we'll go out there and have a good time, and kind of trying to get Jay to go with us, but we'll see if he can get off work that weekend.
Yeah, Jay's busy.
We'll see. If
really.
Wait, I should rephrase it. We'll see if he can get off retirement that weekend. That's really
that's more like it.
See if he can,
I think if you send his wife $150 or something, that would probably do it.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that might
cold hard cash.
Cash talks. That's right.
I'll just send her some paper.
Send her some stamp.
Oh, yeah, paper,
stamp
for her stuff, for stamping up stuff. There you go. Bribe my wife paper.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, it was fun. I mean,
Becky, I'm trying to help you out here. So
I know, right? I actually got, it was fun to go out to the field and fly and see those things. I kind of participate, and I flew a couple other airplanes, so it was kind of fun. I didn't fly quite as much as Jay did, but I did get a couple, pulls on the stick, and then I am back to work. So work has been using me quite a bit, and so that feels good too. So those of you that know, I went through COVID's, kind of stint with COVID, and now I'm back, and it feels good, and my lungs feel great. I feel in really good health, and it's been good to kind of get back behind the controls of the airplane and take a trip. So it's been kind of neat. So
that's good.
Yeah,
it's about time.
Yeah, it is. So, well, was there any other big airplanes or anything special that happened out there? It sounds like
no, like I said, we had a good time, and pretty much the heat was the only thing that kind of defeated us that day. We had no serious crashes, nothing, that they damaged anything. But Jim did tell me that his missus had felt some pity on him. So, like I said, he was able to wrangle out not only the new ultrasonic cleaner, but he got himself a new plane as well.
Wow.
Oh, what did he get?
So he got himself an A-10 from E-Flight.
Wow.
And it showed up this week, in fact. So I think this coming week, Jim and I are going to go out and maiden it.
Gotta love the Warthog.
Now, is it the 65 millimeter or is it the 80 millimeter?
It's the 65.
Okay. So it's a little bit smaller than the one you've been flying with.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And, the biggest thing for the A-10, I'm going to tell you, and even the smaller ones, is that it's going to fly a little nose heavy. And just be aware of that, because the first couple of times that we flew our big ones, right, the airplane wants to settle down into that nose up attitude. Remember, I had you when you were flying mine, you had that little whistles and they were kind of just off. And then what happens is when it runs out of energy, the nose will drop. And as soon as the nose drops, you kind of panic and you pull it back, and you will pile drive the main gear right into the airplane. So
Gotcha.
just be aware of that. And I would go ahead and fly it, but maybe when you maiden it, don't put it to where it's really nose heavy. Put it either equal or just slightly, just a little bit to the tail, because there is a lot of weight on an A10 behind the CG.
So are those 4-cell 5,000 batteries?
No, I think they're actually 6 cells.
Oh, that's too bad.
They could be, but they're probably smaller, right? They're probably
they're like 4,000.
I'm trying to upgrade. I'm trying to upgrade to 5,000 4-cell battery planes. Those are batteries. What's that?
What did you say it was? A 4,000?
5,000 4-cell.
Okay, so 5,000 milliamp 4-cell.
Yeah. So I'm trying to upgrade into those kind of planes, since those are the batteries I use for my paramotor. I figured if I auger one in, I still can use the batteries for.
Well, that's if your battery doesn't look like an accordion. So
there's that.
Unfortunately, the faster you go, the more accordion properties you get from a crash.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But
hey, so when we were on last time, you said that we didn't get a chance to talk about something that was going on with the AMA.
Yeah, so I did mention, I think last time, the AMA actually, there was some discussion online, and I kind of follow some of the groups, and I'm on the AMA, Facebook page and that kind of thing. And the AMA just started charging kids. So now it used to be that kids, it used to be that kids could fly, they could join for free, and I think now it's like $15. And
is that because they want to register their names or what?
Well, so I think a little bit of it is because before, I think it's insurance related, right? We all know that the world revolves around insurance. I mean, airplanes, houses, cars, you name it. Insurance rates go up almost every year, and the coverage goes down. And I noticed that this year when I insured, my aircraft and a couple of other things, that there was some serious restrictions that used to not be there. That are now readily apparent, right? So they're like, oh, well, we'll cover you, but if you're doing X, Y, Z, we're not going to cover you. And I think in the past, the airplanes were such that we weren't using 5,000 milliamp batteries, right? We had smaller trainer airplanes. The kids that are going out there, they were, able to learn to fly on some small, trainer type airplanes. And now you have kids that, are coming to the field with a, A10 that has two 5,000 or 6,000 milliamp batteries. And, knowing what happened at my club, we can see that, sometimes even though these kids don't pay to come in, the insurance, I think, and this is just my personal opinion. I haven't read anything about this, but I think this is what's driving it. And if somebody out there knows different, please let us know. But from what I've read on the boards, a lot of it has to do with just insurance. So if the AMA is going to cover the insurance, cover these kids flying on an AMA field, and the FAA is looking at it as someone that's participating, then, basically they give their $15, and that covers the insurance premium for the child. So it's kind of unfortunate. And I think we mentioned last time, what kind of brought this up last time is that the flight test guys, right? Everybody knows who flight test guys are. They had their event, and they created a flight test control area, right? Which is what they wanted to do. So they kind of took it upon themselves, and that way you didn't have to be an AMA member, so that the kids, they wanted kids to come out. They wanted people to come out. They didn't want
So how does that work?
$75. Well, from what I understand, they basically designate an area, and they do very similar to what you were talking about last time. They can set up a NOTAM with the FAA that says, okay, we're going to consider this a controlled area, right, for RC, and they give for them. I think they have an actual field that they can designate. It's got a runway and the whole thing, multiple runways, I think. And then what they do is that they just say, okay, we're a club, right? And then, we don't want the hindrance to be in, the AMA, that if you're not an AMA member, that you can't fly here. So if you are an AMA member, then you're welcome. But if you're not, go ahead and come on in. But from what I understand, you have to sign a bunch of waivers that basically say, you know, I am coming in. I will cover my own mistakes. I will cover any damages that that happened because of me. And, you know, I'm kind of insuring myself. I don't know if they actually have an insurance policy that you can purchase them, but unfortunately in this industry, it's just happening more and more where people are, I mean, look what happened at our field. You know, we burned down, 1,000 acres of land. And fortunately for us, it needed to be that way. You know, I mean, they needed to clear all that land out anyway, so nobody did anything. But if that would have got somebody's house or a car, or it would have hopped over to a neighborhood, there could have been some serious damage.
Right.
And,
Right.
At some point, somebody's going to say, hey, I'm not paying for the fact that you burned my house down because you wrecked an airplane into my house. And we know that the AMA insurance is actually a backup to your homeowner's insurance. So you're going to have to go through that first. So, and since kids don't have it, I think that's why the AMA finally just said, look, they're struggling, with all the rule changes as much as we are. And the FAA is, constantly putting, more stuff out there. So I think it's just their way of kind of keeping up with the, the way the changes are going. So anyway, if you have something different, let me know. I've been following it, kind of reading it when I get a chance, but it's kind of all over the board,
So I imagine the Jetsons reality is coming to play at this point too, right?
It is. Several airlines, large, major, or global type airlines have invested in, some, for lack of a better term, drone taxi type service. They have put a lot of money up, several $1 million worth. So it's coming. And I think, in my personal opinion, without throwing anybody under the bus, I seriously think that everything that we saw on the drone, FARs that came into place was strictly for this particular event. And that's my personal opinion. I'm not pointing fingers or saying that this is the gospel truth, but if we look back in history, we kind of see the RC world kind of had this preceding lead up to certain things that happened in the real flying world. And since I've got a foot in both, I can actually see that. And because I know what's going on our side of the fence versus what's going on the RC side of the fence, you can kind of see the parallels. And it's a lot easier to jump into something that's small and get everything worked out, and then you can do it on a bigger scale. And now we see that that's the case. So that investment, they're talking about having 4-man drone taxis by 2024.
It's not so far away.
Yeah, it's not too far away at all. Now, the viability of that, I couldn't really tell you. I know these companies have invested, hundreds of millions of dollars into it, and there's the company that they're talking about is a British company, but they seem to think that they can have this worked out by 2024. And if that's the case, that's going to affect a lot of airspace, right? It's going to affect the airspace that we fly in as a club members. It's going to affect general aviation airspace. So I think there's changes coming, and I think that everything we went through recently that we were jumping up and down and shaking our fist at was there, but I think it was put into place for something at this level. And we all know that Amazon and Google and a couple of the other big companies are starting to talk about drone deliveries. So I think you're going to see a lot more airspace that's becoming saturated and squeezing us as a club member. So you're going to try to find these clubs that are going to have to be dedicated. You're not going to be able to just go out and fly everywhere.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be tough. If you saturate, the lower altitudes from the ground to say 400 feet or just a little above 500 feet, and you've got a $4 million commercial drone flying, specifically, and you're in your little, $150, $350 foam airplane, and you take one of those, kind of have a incident with them.
Oops.
Not really.
You're not going to take one of them out, though, Mike. I mean, we've already had this conversation a bunch of times.
And I understand that. And I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that when you take two objects and you collide them at any speed, right? I mean, even if you had a car that hit a pole and you were only doing 10 miles an hour, you're still going to put a dent in the bumper. That bumper is going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000 to get it fixed. Mm-hmm. My point is that, that's going to cause someone, if you hit my $4 million drone, It's going to make me very upset.
So not safety, but liability.
Correct. And that's kind of why I said the insurance companies are really kind of driving some of this, because they're going to be the ones that say, hey, look, you know, at the AMA, we have a $500,000 policy because, you know, what are we going to do with an RC airplane out at a club, right?
Right.
I'm not burning anybody's house down that's, you know, $500,000. Or maybe
I'd make them pay. I'd make that drone company pay for my RC plane.
I don't know. They probably have more lawyers than you do, so.
He's got his Uncle Milt.
Yeah, I'm going to stand up for my
Benny.
rights as a plane flyer.
I got my cousin Benny lawyer. He seemed to work okay.
Guido and his brother Vinny.
That's it. Well, unfortunately, our hour's up. If you are out there and have a topic for us, or you just want to chat with us, 830-444-4943 is our phone number. Feel free to leave us a message, and someone will get back in touch with you. If not, then give us a call or give us a email at parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our listeners, so go on the Facebook page. We have a Park Flyer Podcast listeners group, and you can join that. I think we got a couple of new members this week. So, and then try our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube. Pass that around. We try to get that out as well. So, we appreciate your patronages, your listening to us and helping us along the way. And it's just great to be in the hobby and having a great summer. So let us know what
the world is breathing again.
It is. I've just found out through my industry that we should see Europe and should see most of a large portion of the Asian continent starting to open up from this COVID. So that's a good thing that we're slowly trying to move that. So yeah. So we should hear some more of our worldwide listeners, because I know that we have listeners all over the world. So let us know how it's going. So anyway, wow. Anything you guys got? You going flying this weekend, or? Well, I got the next couple of days off. So actually, what I haven't done in a while is go out to the. I've actually had to work almost every Tuesday when the guys are out at the field at the park, and so I'm actually home this Tuesday, so I may cruise over there and chat with those guys. And
oh, good.
Maybe I'll have a report from flying in the park, because
good.
Got a couple of new airplanes.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, from Michael here in Arizona.
And from Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.